Let's talk about the oath you took, the one to uphold the law, to serve your country. But what happens when an order comes down that feels wrong, like it's forcing you to go against the very reason you signed up? We're going to dig into that conflict, that hidden cost of command that so many are dealing with right now.
I mean, it's a heavy question, right? But for a lot of people in uniform, this isn't some theoretical exercise. It's a real choice they face. That feeling you see here, your livelihood on one side and your soul on the other, that's exactly what we're exploring. And there's actually a name for this. It's called moral injury. And it's so important we get this right. This isn't about you being weak or feeling guilty. It's a legitimate psychological wound. It's what happens when you're put in an impossible spot by the very system you pledged to serve. So let's approach this like a diagnosis, because recognizing the signs is the absolute first step to understanding what's happening, not just to you, but inside of you. Do any of these hit close to home? That deep feeling of betrayal by command? Maybe you find yourself shutting people out or drinking more just to turn the noise down. Or that awful feeling when you can't quite look your family in the eye after a long shift. These aren't random feelings. They are classic signs of a moral wound, and you are definitely not alone in feeling them. Okay, so the big question is, how does this even happen? How do large, structured institutions get good people to follow orders that just feel wrong in their bones? Well, decades of research have shown there's a pretty clear playbook for it. It all starts with something called authorization. And you've heard this a million times, right? I was just following orders. The system creates a chain of command where you feel like the moral weight of the decision isn't on you. It's on the person who gave the order. Next up, you've got routinization. This is where harmful acts get disguised as, well, boring paperwork and procedures. It's not called harming people, it's processing detainees or enforcing a new policy. You get so focused on the task that the human cost, the moral meaning, just fades into the background. And this one is probably the most powerful and most dangerous tool of all: dehumanization. When people are constantly called invaders or criminals or worse, animals, it chips away at their humanity in your mind. It makes it psychologically possible to do things you never do to another human being. And look, if you think this is all just theory, think again. The famous Milgram experiment in the 60s was a huge wake-up call. They found that 65%, two-thirds of regular people off the street, were willing to give what they thought was a fatal electric shock to a total stranger. Why? Simply because a guy in a lab coat told them to. The power of authority is no joke. But today, the pressure isn't just psychological. That's only half the story. There are very real, very powerful financial and legal traps that are designed to make walking away feel completely impossible. You've probably heard the term the golden handcuffs. The idea is brutally simple. A big chunk of money can act like a leash, tying you to a job long after it starts to eat away at your conscience. And here's exactly how that trap snaps shut. The agency offers you this life-changing signing bonus. You sign a contract for a few years of service. But then, an order comes down that crosses a line. You think about quitting, but then you find out you'd have to pay back every single penny of that bonus, right away. Suddenly, it's not a gift anymore, is it? It's leverage. So while your bank account is feeling the squeeze, the law has a very different view. The whole "I was just following orders" defense, yeah, that was settled more than 75 years ago. This principle, laid down at the Nuremberg trials, is crystal clear. You are responsible for your actions, period. And the thing you have to understand is that the legal risks here are personal. This isn't just about the agency getting in trouble. As you can see, you could face criminal charges, you can be sued personally with damages paid out of your own pocket, and that qualified immunity you count on, it can vanish. And when things go sideways, remember, the agency's lawyers are there to protect the agency, not you. Okay, I know this all sounds incredibly bleak, but it is not a hopeless situation. There are concrete, real-world steps you can take to protect yourself, to protect both your conscience and your career. Think of these as your personal exit ramps. First, create a freedom fund. That big bonus? Put it in a separate account and do not touch it. That's your ticket out if you need it. Second, document everything. Keep a private journal of any verbal order that seems off. And always, always ask for questionable orders in writing. If they refuse, that's a huge red flag. Finally, connect with people who've been there and get some legal advice. You don't have to figure this out alone. One of the most critical resources is what I like to call legal air cover. Groups like the GI Rights Hotline are there specifically to give confidential, no strings attached advice to people facing these exact situations. Here's the number. Seriously, take a second and jot it down or take a screenshot. It's a completely safe first call to make just to understand what your real options are without setting off any alarms at work. At the end of the day, it really all comes back to this, doesn't it? The oath that every single federal officer swears. Read it closely. Notice it says nothing about your supervisor or an agency policy or any politician. It's an oath to the Constitution. So that leaves us with one last crucial question. When an order from your boss and the oath you swore are in direct conflict, which one is your actual duty? Which one will the law, history, and your own conscience ultimately hold you accountable to?